Howdy, Larkin Rose here. Ready for your second keyboard lesson? Since apparently people donated enough for me to bother making another one and posting it. So, now, because this is a video and you have the function of pause, if there's something I went over too fast, pause it or rewind it and look at it again. And sometimes I'm going to show you something and you may have to watch closely and rewind it, and it's really cool if you have slow motion, but I'll try not to make that a requirement or anything. But I'm going to show you some stuff that if you rewind and watch it again, I'm intentionally going to basically go too fast because you can rewind and watch it again as many times as you want, rather than me doing the same thing 5 times in a row. I'll do it once, and if you didn't get it, rewind and do it again till you do. So, as a quick review, last time, well, I'm not even going to expect you to remember note names at the moment. As a review, last time we covered the fact that this is A. You find the 3 black notes together, and the white between the top 2 of it is an A. And these notes are named A, B, C, D, E, F, G, except the black ones in between, they're just as much notes, but they have these weird, awkward names. So the naming conventions are just obnoxious, if you ask me. So mostly I'm not even going to get into what they're called yet. What I ended with last time is one of the most important things to learn, which I never learned in however many months of piano lessons I had. And then my brother sat me down for 5 minutes and showed me how to find major and minor chords. So I already explained, if you pick a random note, this is where we ended last time. Pick a random note, and if you skip 3 notes going up, 1, 2, 3, and play the next one. So you skip 3 and play 1. Then you skip 2, 1, 2, and play 1 more. That's a major chord. Notice major sounds kind of happy and nice. Now, to find the minor chord, you start with a note, any note, but I'm going to start on the same one. Start with a note, you skip 2 first, 1, 2, play the next one, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, play the next one. So that's the minor chord. Major, happier, minor, kind of bummed out or serious or something. And they universally sound like happy to people if they're major. I don't know why, it's just magic. Music's just magic. Now, I pointed out last time where we ended, you can have a major chord here, but you can also find the same one an octave up. Like, here's a C, but if you go up, this is another C. Notice it's right below the 2 black notes. So that's a C. This is an octave above a C. There's another one and another one. Octaves all the way up and down the whole piano. Just like you can go, 1, 2, 3, skip 3, 1, 2, skip 2. There's a major chord. Could have done the exact same thing here. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 2, 1, 2, and find the chord there. Notice they look the same. They're the same pattern. So any keyboard player or piano player, if you go like that in front of them, they're immediately going to know it's a C major. Doesn't matter if you know the name of it yet. So that chord and that chord belong together. Now notice you can play them at the same time, and it sounds like one big nice chord. If you play 2 different chords at the same time, it sounds like vomit. But I now want you to picture a major chord, not just as these 3 notes. Again, you start with any note, skip 3, skip 2, there's a major chord. Okay, those 3 notes by themselves are a major chord. However, I want you to get in the habit of not picturing that as the chord, but picture this pattern repeated all the way up and down the whole keyboard. I have to keep track of where the camera can't see. So it's these 3 and these 3 and all the way down too. Down to out of the picture where you can't even see it anymore. Now, of course, unless you're like a, what do they call, a sea anemone, Unless you're a sea anemone, you can't play all of those notes at the same time. But I want you to picture all of them put together as one chord. Now here's the trick. You can play whichever notes in that whole pattern you want. You can't play them all because you don't have enough fingers. You can play that. That's a C major. This is also a C major. And these are called inversions. Not that it matters what they're called. So there's the chord to begin with. You can see here's the 3, skip 3, skip 2, skip 3, skip 2. Here's the same thing an octave higher. Well, you can combine them. Like I'm just gonna drop him and add this guy. That's also a C major. Notice that I just let go of that note and added this one. And you can do the same thing. Like, okay, there's the note right above these black 2, which means that note right above these black 2 is gonna fit too. So maybe I'll just let go of that guy. And the next exercise I want you to do is after you find a chord, major or minor, anywhere, I'm gonna do a different one just to change it up. I'm gonna say minor starting here. It's an A, doesn't matter if you know that. So a minor chord is skip 2, 1, 2, play the next one. Keep track of them. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, play the next one. So that's a minor chord. It's an A minor, named after the note you start with. So that's A minor. Recognize that pattern here. That's also an A minor. And you can recount them, or you can just say, oh, if I just take this pattern, move it up to the octave up. Okay, this is the note, like between here on the black notes. If I move that up so it's between there on the black notes, that's a similar pattern. So those are all in the A minor chord. So is this, so is that, so is that. Pattern goes up and down the whole keyboard. And that's what I want you to practice once you learn how to make a simple 3-note chord, is practice seeing it as something that extends all the way up and down the whole thing. Now, I'm going to demonstrate that with an A minor. I'm going to drop an octave, but here's an A. If you do skip 2, there's the 2. Skip 3, here's the 3. There's an A minor. See if you can practice just walking up the keyboard playing that pattern in every octave, but do it like this. Now, I expect it to be a bunch slower, because if you're not used to looking at the pattern on the keyboard, even if you made it to there, you have to look and go, wait, where's the A up there? So I'm just not doing it stupidly slow, but you can watch. Find the chord, find it the octave above that, find it the octave above that. I missed. Find it the octave above that. Keep going until you run out of keyboard. If you go down low, like I said before, it gets really ugly. So if you go too low with chords, they just sound horrendous. So don't. But when you do that, you're picturing the pattern up and down the whole thing. So instead of just picturing the chord as those 3 notes, you're picturing those same 3 notes in every octave all the way up and down the whole keyboard. Now, there's a reason for that. In pretty much every song you're going to hear, there is a chord pattern, which means it plays a chord, then it plays a different chord, then it plays a different chord. Sometimes it just plays 2 chords and goes back and forth. Sometimes it'll play 8 different chords in a row and then repeat. A lot of songs do 3 chords. Like a whole bunch of songs are what's called 1-4-5. I'll explain why it's called that later. And you'll hear, in fact, I'll play this, and I bet you can name 2 or 3 songs that this sounds like. bazillion songs that are that boring pattern or some variation thereof. So, the reason I'm starting with chords is because when you learn a chord and then you learn another chord and you play them in order, there's a lot of songs that, other than the singing, if on the piano you're literally just playing the chord that goes along with it, that sort of makes it a whole song. I mean, it's not very full or satisfying song, but if you know the chord pattern, that's most of what the song is. The reason I focus on saying picture the chord all the way up and down the whole keyboard is because the way most songs are played, it doesn't always look like this. It doesn't always start with that note and then skip 3 and then skip 2. It can be this, which is the same chord. It's still a C major, but it's using this C instead of that C. Or it can be that, which is also the 3 notes. They're just in different octaves. Like it uses the C, skip 3, skip 2. Would have been this one, but let's do it all the way down here in this octave. So the next exercise I want you to do, even if you have to pause this and back up to actually see how it goes slowly, is once you find a chord, practice the inversions. Now, one way to describe how you do an inversion is you take a note off of one end of the chord and move it an octave past. So that C is jumping all the way to here. Notice you find it because it's the one right below the 2 black notes. So the one right below the 2 black notes is there. So to do the inversion, it's that. And then you do the same thing. You take the bottom note, throw it up an octave. Now, when you do that one more time, taking the bottom note, throwing it all the way up an octave, notice you got back to the original chord. It's these 3. It was these 3 down here. So there's basically 2 inversions in between. There's that. There's the octave above it. That's the starting chord. That's just a major chord. That's taking that guy and throwing him up there. So it's the first inversion. Take that and throw it up there. Second inversion. And then you're back to the original chord. What I want you to practice, and it's going to be slow and awkward if your fingers aren't used to doing this, is taking the same chord and going up and down the inversions. I'll do this slowly so you can see it. There's the starting chord. It's the first one. Notice these 2 notes didn't change. Those 2 notes stayed the same. But the reason to do that is not just as a finger exercise, but as a eyeball exercise, so you get used to seeing the chord as the entire keyboard. This pattern up the entire keyboard. It's still just this. It's just these 3 notes, but it's 3 notes repeated octave after octave after octave. Now, if you want an advanced piece of homework, you can do this fun little pattern, which, you might need a damper pedal. Damper pedal on a piano makes it so that when you press a note and let go, it keeps going. Without the pedal, it just goes. Without a pedal, with a pedal. But with a damper pedal, which lets everything ring and keep playing, you can do exercises like this. Again, we're just doing a C major, then doing this, same thing in the next octave, then we're moving both hands. So it's the same, we're just same pattern, same 3 notes all the way up and down, but it goes like this. And the faster you do it, the cooler it it sounds. Sorry, get carried away. But if you do this on a bunch of different chords where you, like I said, randomly pick a note, all right, I'm going to make a minor out of this. So skip 2 to do the minor, it's skip 2, skip 3. So the minor, skip 2, 1, 2, skip 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's that pattern. It's kind of obnoxious to play compared to a C major. C major is all white notes, and this one you have to like reach over top of stuff and see it. But if you picture the same thing in a different octave, and up here, it's still just the 3-note pattern across all the octaves of the whole keyboard. And again, it's not like you play them all at once. You can't possibly. But when you get used to seeing them as all of those notes, then you can play any collection of the notes that go in that chord and make something that starts to almost sound like music. Now, maybe I'll throw in this one more thing, since there is the pause function. And if I'm getting ahead, just pause and back up, or pause and practice something for a while. Because there's no point in me doing a video where I sit here and twiddle my thumbs waiting for you to practice something. Just pause it and practice it. So, now I'm going to give you a very simple exercise. After you get used to doing a chord back and forth, this exercise I'm going to give you an A minor, which is actually my favorite key to play in. I'll get into keys later. There's an A. To do a minor, skip 2, skip 3. Major is skip 3, skip 2. So do a minor, starting with the A, skip 2, 1, 2, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, A minor. Now there's an A minor, and there it is in the octave above, the octave above that, the octave below. It's the same pattern all the way up and down. I want you to start by practicing different collections of the notes in the chord. And for a while it'll be slow and awkward and you'll hit wrong notes all over the place. Again, this is both training your muscle memory and your eyeballs to get used to what they're looking for. Because a piano player, like if you say play an A minor, he doesn't go, wait, okay, that's the A, 1, 2. Like, you'll get to the point where you just recognize an A minor, that yes, that's an A minor. And you'll recognize it no matter where it's played and no matter which inversion it is. You get used to it and you just go, oh, that's A minor. But it takes a while to do that. Now, one of the main things to understand is that most of what you should be doing is just playing around by yourself. Like, you can watch a lesson, but you have to do it. And you basically have to do it wrong a whole bunch of times for your brain to get used to it. It's a matter of repetition and getting used to it. Both your eyes and your fingers need to get used to being able to jump an octave. Like, most people can't go like that because they're not used to seeing the pattern. They have to go, wait, which is that one's there. You just have to do it, and you have to do it slowly and awkwardly until you can do it fast. So, but the one more exercise I'm going to give you in this lesson is we're going to start with A minor. There's the A, the white one between the black 3. I want you to practice the inversions up and down, like I said before. After you start to get used to that, I want you to do something that'll make your head explode and annoy the hell out of you, which is then go to F major. There's an F. It's the one right below the 3 blacks. So here's 3 black. There's an F, 3 blacks. There's an F, 3 blacks. Wait, can you see that eye? Not really. F major. There's the F. To do a major, it's skip 3, skip 2. So skip 3, 1, 2, 3. Play the next one. Skip 2, 1, 2, play the next one. There's an F major. What I want you to try to do is go back and forth between two chords, practicing all the inversions. So there's the F major. You can take the bottom note and hurl it up an octave. Okay, that's still an F major. Can do it again. Throw this guy up to there. That's still an F major. Throw him up to there, and then we're back to the starting pattern. But after you start to get good at being able to go up and down the inversions of one, try to go back and forth between two chords. So I gave you A minor. You can take your time and find it slowly, but I'm just going to show you. A minor, F major, everything I just did was just the notes in those two chords. I didn't even add anything in between. That's just the notes in an A minor. And then in the F major. Get used to your hand jumping around to different parts of it. And again, it's going to be slow and awkward. Just do it until it isn't, which takes ages. But you'll soon notice that you can play what almost sounds like a complete song just playing the inversions of simple chords. And then we can get into more different chord patterns and stuff. But right now, that's your next sort of mission, your next homework is find a chord like A minor. In fact, it's a good one to start with because these are all white notes, which makes it easier to practice the first time through before you're throwing in sharps and flats and trying to remember weirder patterns. So A minor, and practice going up and down the inversions. Jump a whole octave, do an inversion down, until your brain sees the chord as the same pattern all the way up and down the whole keyboard. And then practice going back and forth between one pattern and another one, in this case F major, which there's the F, goes down. There isn't anything you can play that sounds bad that are the notes in the chord. Like any order. Any note in the chord is going to fit with the chord because they all go together to make the chord. Now, there are other notes in between. We're going to get into that so you can play stuff that isn't in the chord but fits anyway. But that comes next. But first, just learn the chords and how to get used to seeing them up and down the whole keyboard instead of just seeing them as this. Because most songs, they're not going to play every chord like this. They're going to be playing inversions. And if you get used to expecting every chord to look like those three bunched together, they don't. So it's a matter of getting your brain used to seeing the chords as they actually appear when you play stuff. So for now, your homework is just the A minor and the F, going back and forth and doing that fun stuff. So that's your homework, and if enough people show interest, I'll do another one.